Hello, guys, and welcome. Happy Friday. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic day so far, and I hope you continue to do so. Let me say hello to everyone before I jump into the meat and potatoes of the show. So we had Chris Persia and Project Storytime. They were first today. Hello, guys. Welcome. We've got Colin P. Smith. Good afternoon. Psycho Dwarf. Good to see you. JPRPH1. Good day to you as well. Arwin Avalon. Hello, sweetheart. Punk Waddle. Good morning to you. Lord Roth. Hello. Is going to skip this one because not watching it to the weekend, guys. Don't worry, I'm not going to be too heavy on spoilers today. I know the film's only just come out, so a lot of people won't have been able to go see it. So I will be kind of light on the spoilers. I'm going to touch on the plot and give my opinion of what I think of it, but I'm not going to. I will be very mindful not to spoil anything for you, if that's okay. So it's not going to be I'm not going to be dissecting the film as it were. We've got Dead Man Walking. Hey, good to see you. Who else has joined? We've got Mark the Infinitely Tired. Good morning, Mark. Snorter Poopers Cuba. Hello. D-Bud Martin, good to see you. Let me scroll down. It's probably going to jump on me. It always does. There it goes. We've got Perez. Hey. Good to see you, Crimson Mist. Good morning. Welcome. We've got Alison Stepson on music. Hello, good to see you. Welcome, SRB. Hope you had a good birthday on Wednesday. Tim Possible, good morning. And hello to Larry. Good to see you. Guys, welcome. And Dave Bob. Yes, belly rub Dave Bob. Everyone really loves that part of the intro. And Firefly MK1, hello, welcome. Good to see you all. Right, and Demo Penguin, Maxwell X, good to see you guys. Hey. And Demo Penguin says, can you save me the price of the ticket? Thank you, Purple Valkyrie. Wow, I'm not sure if I can save you the cost of the ticket, but I can certainly maybe let you decide whether you want to see it in the cinema or whether you would rather find other means to watch it, as I did. I know we're kind of hard on Disney at the moment, so yes, that's another thing to think about. Welcome, guys. So we now have Phase 4 of the MCU has just kicked off. Scarlet Witch has finally gotten the film that people have been asking for the past 10 years, and it was not quite what people were expecting, I would imagine. I'm trying to think how would be the best way to describe this film. I'm not going to be too kind of negative about it either, but people love Scarlet Witch. Black Widow, sorry. They love Scarlett Johansson. Yeah, I do. I think she's a great actor. She played the part really well. I know going into watching this film, one of the things that kind of tarnished it for me was all the interviews that she's done recently where she's talking about how hard it is to be a female actress, how they're not represented, how her character was always seen as somebody being used as a chess piece for the male characters in the films. And to be honest, having watched this film, if that's how she feels, that's how she feels, but she cannot carry a film as a lead. That's my takeaway from this. Nothing wrong with her performance. You know, she knows exactly how to play this character. She's played it multiple times. But it was the supporting cast that made this film much more interesting, at least for me. So we'll kind of go into that in a moment. And hello, Lady Miss. Good to see you. Oh, and before we do, Mexican Iron Man, hey, thank you. He sends a $9.99 super chat. Thank you. Says, I learned this AM that your favourite character / movie is the same as mine, Little Mermaid. Indeed it is. Good news. Second time this week our love aligns. My one-sided alignment. Mark, don't time me out. LOL. See? It's written in the stars. What can I say? But thank you. Thank you so much. I'm very, very appreciative of that. Thank you. And Chris Neville says the marketing for this movie has been terrible. It really has. Not just what is coming from our lead actress, but people are criticizing it. And to be honest, there just hasn't been the hype for this film. I was on Twitter earlier today to see if it was trending, even though it's been released. We've had previews of it. There isn't really that much about it, to be honest. Before I kind of start talking about the plot, I will say that if you're a fan of the TV shows that are out at the moment, this film is very much in the same vein as WandaVision, as Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki. This film is very, very similar in tone. It's similar in style. In fact, if it was chopped into 3 parts, you could probably make it into a short series. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's very, very close, especially with the special effects, to the TV shows that we have at the moment. Now, whether that's because of the COOF, we know that this film has been delayed multiple times. I think cutbacks as well in the budget didn't help. Some of the special effects looked quite ropey, at least to me. But we will kind of go into that a little bit more in a moment. And Lord Throff says, I figured the movie would be the same as a TV show, Sigh. Well, we'll always have the past movies. I think that's going to be the case as well. And even though people really wanted this movie, it's come too late. The people wanted this movie back when Iron Man 2 came out. That's when we wanted to know more about Black Widow. That's when she was at her peak, because of what happened in Endgame. Ultimately, what you're looking at is something that's happened in the past. You know that the character is no longer part of the MCU, and that's a big deal. And that was one of the things that kept cropping up in my mind as I was watching the film. It's like this character is no longer with us in the timeline, but we'll see. And Darth Hasta says ropey. Define that. Some of the CGI didn't look great for a blockbuster film. Some of the special effects didn't look great. Some of the explosions, and there are a lot of explosions, especially in the third act. It's quite a fast-paced film. The film is over 2 hours, though. I think it's 2 hours and 20 minutes long. So it's one of the longer MCU films. So that's another thing to kind of bear in mind as well. There's a lot that they try to pack in for a story that isn't really that complex, at least in my opinion. Chris Persia says, as Feige was in charge since mid-2015, why didn't they just give us Black Widow back in 2017? I think it's the case that they just didn't have the faith in the character. I think they were worried that people wouldn't support a female-led film, perhaps. I don't think that would have been the case, because people were actually clamoring to see more of her. And I think perhaps that's why ScarJo is so bent out of shape about all of this. It's why she's being very dismissive, why she's saying, I don't think we were ever taken seriously as a character, and it's why this will be the last time we see her as Black Widow. And Vanessa, hello to my mud sister. Thank you, sweetheart. She says, sending love and support. Love to you too. I hope you're having a good day. It's always good to see you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. And Sultanay Fahim, hello. Good to see you. All right, guys. So let me kind of jump into the plot a little bit. Like I say, I'm not going to touch on everything, but I'll kind of give you an overview, and I'll give you my views on what I thought of the cast as well as we go. So this film actually starts with a flashback. So it starts in 1995 when she's a child. Basically, we learn that she's part of this kind of spy network. She's being used as a family, basically, living in the US. So they're stationed in Ohio. She has a sister, but all of this obviously isn't true. We also have a really good supporting cast in David Harper, who was actually my highlight of the film. He plays a great role as Alexei. And Rachel Weisz, who I was surprised about. She plays a really, really good role and still looks stunning as ever. So for me, actually, they were the highlights rather than ScarJo. And I know this sounds kind of harsh, but I don't like the girl that plays the sister. I haven't really seen her in anything else. I know this is probably going to be her big breakout role, and she's going to be part of the MCU going forward, but I wasn't that keen on her, honestly. They had decent enough chemistry, but no, we will have to see. So so it starts with the flashback where they're kids, and then it skips forward, and we weren't sure when the film was going to pick up in the main timeline for the MCU films, and it actually picks up immediately following Captain America Civil War. So we jump forward now to 2016. There's a lot of they try to fill in a lot of gaps. So, for example, people really wanted to know what Budapest was all about. Well, we finally get our answer in this film. Probably not what people would expect it's about, but there we have it. And Positive Candor, yep, exactly. Florence Pugh, not too keen on her, I've got to admit. She was pretty good, but not who I would have pictured going forward to play this character. And Mark said, "Did you say she was a child in '95?" Yes, that's correct. Black Widow's as old as Steve Rogers. Not anymore. And hello, Naughty Monkey Roll. Good to see you. So, obviously, picking up from Civil War, we know what's happened with the Avengers. The Avengers are split. She is a fugitive. She's on the run. And it's a big part of this film is her trying to not be captured whilst playing out this role that she's trying to figure out, this family that she thought she had, this sister that she thought she had. It's all a lie. And then they're trying to find the main bad guy of the film, who is Dreykov, who was played by Ray Winstone. Now, I like Ray Winstone as a actor, but he cannot do accents. God, love him, and he tries to do a Russian accent in this, and it's not great. Now, Florence Pugh does it as well, and she's a little bit better. She's got this kind of pseudo-Russian accent that sort of comes and goes, but at least she gave it a good effort. Ray Winstone just sounds like Ray Winstone in everything he does. I didn't think much of him as a villain. I didn't really find him particularly threatening. But he was kind of weak for me. He was one of the weaker points. I suppose I should kind of touch on some of the action sequences, because that's going to be the main takeaway from this. It is very, very action-packed, very fast-paced. The choreography is actually really good. You can tell the cast are doing their best with the roles. Scarlett Johansson is capable as ever as Natasha. I think it's a role that she's definitely very comfortable with, but she seems really ready to leave it behind, especially given the interviews that she's done. Now, I don't know whether that's because she's sick of the role, whether she's sick of acting, or because, as some people have said, it's she's kind of getting a little bit older now, so perhaps her her star is fading, and that's why she wants to move into directing. But she definitely gave it her all for this one. And hello, Lady Miss. Thank you, sweetheart. My love to you. She says, love your shows. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Really, really appreciate you. Arwen, so they retconned her age. Yep, pretty much. I was surprised, to be honest, how that opened. I think we could have skipped the bit where they were kids entirely. I don't think it was really needed. What it's supposed to do is set up how important family is. And that's one thing that crops up throughout the film. You know, it's all about women. It's about women being used, it's about women being trafficked, it's about women being used as weapons, having their self-control taken away, having their will taken away. Time and time again, this pops up throughout, and it gets a little bit old fast, unfortunately. Positive Candle, I will touch on that one later. Yes. Honestly, it didn't do anything for me, but we can talk about that in a little bit. Absolutely. Colin says, so do we at least get something about Budapest? Yes, we do. So anyone who is curious about what happened in Budapest, you do get your answers. Now, whether it's the answers that you wanted, that's for you to decide, but they do finally tell you what happened in Budapest. I said, although the cast list would suggest not much without spoiling the film, I hope. Yes, yeah, absolutely. So if you're curious about that part, then yeah, watch the film. And Paris says she's tired of being a chest piece. Well, funny you should say that, because that's pretty much the theme of the film. It's about, you know, women being used as weapons. You know, it's about having their self-control taken away. It's about her desperately trying to, one, clear her name, not be captured because she's on the run, and two, get revenge. That's a big part of this. It is a revenge film for what she's gone through in the past. Larry says, I'm tired of Hollywood BS. Yes. And Chris, they show Budapest. Was Jeremy Renner in that scene? Well, you'll have to see to find out. They do film in Budapest. That's another big thing. The filming locations look great. I've been to Budapest. They are on location, which was pretty darn cool to see. SRB, women being victims. There's something new. Yes. It's kind of a double-edged kind of thing, because one, they really want to portray the women in this film as victims, but at the same time, it's just the women who are kicking ass throughout the entire film. There are a few male characters, but again, they are played as comic relief. David Harbour's character was probably my favourite, Alexei, and he he is an actor that I'm massively fond of. I've got to admit, I liked him in Stranger Things, but that was about it. But in this, he's actually really endearing. Let's see what else you guys are saying. It just skipped on me. Yes, exactly. Women strong, men weak, 2 eye rolls. Yeah. Yeah, she has someone that helps her out constantly, and she belittles him. And I ended up rolling my eyes at that as well. I think there's even a line right at the end where she's actually really, really quite mean to him when he does this huge favour. I was like, wow. You're kind of a bitch there, Natasha. You know, he's just done this huge favour for you, and you're going to be nasty to him. I was like, oh dear. And Alison sets the music. I've not seen this film, but someone who tells me it's too long, and by the final fight scene, she was wanting it to be over. Just one opinion. I would agree with that. I would say it's a good half hour too long. They could have trimmed it, and it still would have been fine watch. Some of the MCU films are quite long, but this one didn't need to be. They could have told the story quite easily by trimming a lot out of it, and you still would have had a coherent story arc. There's a lot of eye rolls going on. And Low Psycho Dwarfy says, ahem, if the men are buffoons and the women are victims, what does that say about their ideas of women? Exactly. Yes. As I said at the beginning, if you've been watching the TV series that we've had, this film is very much in the same vein. And if this is the springboard for the Phase 4, I think they've got a problem coming, to be honest. I know that it's done pretty well so far. I think overseas on its first day, it's snared about $5 million, which is pretty good, considering, but it will be the weekend. We will see what the takings are. I think there's a lot of people that were very curious about this film, but I think they didn't really market it the way they should have. I don't think the hype is there for it. I think if anyone sees it, they probably won't see it at the cinema. I think it's going to be one of those films that you stream at your leisure. So if people have Disney Plus, that's most likely where most people will watch this film. I wouldn't recommend going to see it at the cinema. It's overly long, and I could probably think of much better films to sit down and watch, unless you really want that kind of cinema experience. Whereas in the past we had, when we had the MCU films, especially Infinity War, it was a huge deal, and it was great to sit down and watch with other people. This one, I was watching it this morning, and I was kind of watching it. I was scrolling on my phone. I paused it. I got up to get a drink. It was that kind of film. It didn't have me riveted, but that was just me. Kami Mark says, I thought Black Widow was great. Cool. I'm not going to knock anybody who says they liked it. I had, expectations going into this film. I had a feeling that it wasn't going to be what I wanted it to be, whereas we were expecting this film, 10 years ago. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't fit in the timeline. It doesn't fit in continuity-wise. And it really is a swan song for the character. And hello, Eric K. Good to see you. So you watched it at the cinema. Maybe that makes a difference. Maybe so. If you don't mind putting in the chat, was it packed where you were? Was it well sold? Hopefully, obviously now that things are back open, people will go back to the cinema. That's something that I'm expecting, but this I had no interest in. And Firefly NK1, thank you. He says, the next film I'll be seeing in the cinema will be Sonic 2, as the first Sonic film I saw the cinema as well. Awesome. I enjoyed it. I've got to admit, I thought Sonic was a much better film. I didn't see it at the cinema. I just saw it at home. Watched it, the first screening on release day. It was just me and 6 other people. Okay. I think it's going to be this weekend, as I said, that's going to be telling. Once we get the international and once we get the domestic figures back, then we'll see how well this actually did. And hello, Max. When it was claimed to be a movie that bravely addresses Me Too, I was convinced. Such courage, and I hear there's even women in the movie, possibly for the first time ever. Oh yes. Oh, there's a lot of women in this movie. I would say the cast split is probably 90-10 female to male in this. There are not There are not many male characters in this at all. There are also, it's very Scarlett Johansson based. She is the lead. Other characters are mentioned. Captain America is mentioned, Iron Man's mentioned, but we don't have the cameos, which I think might have helped the hype as well. I don't think the football didn't help the numbers either. No, that's probably, at least over here, going to be an issue as well. I mean, obviously we have the final, and England is playing, so I don't think many people are going to be seeing it in the cinema, at least on Sunday. So that will probably have a factor as well. And Punk Waddle says, so you were saying the cast is diverse then? Indeed. And Dead Man Walking, I'll watch A Quiet Place 2 at the cinema before this one. Northroth asks, so it passes the Beechel test. Indeed, yes. If that's a benchmark that you want to use, it passes it with flying colours. Absolutely. If you want to see women having conversations with other women for great chunks of the film, this is your go-to film. And Vanessa, is it terrible to say I have little interest in seeing this one? It's not, no. I even debated on whether or not to review this today, but I thought, well, curiosity won out. I'm not sorry that I see it. Would I ever watch it again? No, I would not. It's not going to be one of the memorable ones, and I think Phase 4 is very shaky anyway. Camper, what? No, avert your male gaze elsewhere. Wow. Given that Scarlett was being very critical, that she was used as a sex symbol, that that's all her character was really for, she had no problem wearing very tight outfits again for this one. So take that as you will. Lots of leather outfits going on. And Phoenix Tangents. Hello. Thank you, sweetheart. It says every purple Valkyrie stream passes the Beechel test. Thank you, hon. Max says, I'm not into tennis, but I think I'll go watch Wimbledon as well. ScarJo thinks Black Widow is only a sex symbol. She didn't know much about her own character. Indeed, I think she's perhaps being a little bit bitter. I've seen the interviews that she's done where she said, well, Black Widow is nothing but a chess piece for the male characters. She was just used as to further the plot. She just worked for the male characters. And no, I would agree with Arwen. She, one, didn't know the backstory of her own character, and two, did she not watch her own films? Scarlet Witch was I keep saying Scarlet Witch. Black Widow was a integral part of the Avengers, and we actually felt something when she finally sacrifices herself. But because of what's happened with the TV show, with Loki, what's happened with this film, it's always in the back of your mind that this character is no longer with us. So why should we care about her backstory now? We've seen how she ends. Cycle Dwarf, unless I say a loss of changes, I'm giving Phase Woke a miss. I'm definitely getting more and more nervous about Phase 4. The only couple of films that I was really, really interested in were The Guardians, the next one of those, and Doctor Strange. And I've heard worrying things about Doctor Strange, so that one might be one that I don't see at the cinema either, which is a shame. I've no real interest in any of the others, I've got to admit. And hello, D. John, good to see you. Movie is 8 years too late. It is, and like you said, the way that they kind of slotted in as well. So it's just put in after Civil War. And you've always got the, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, well, where are the other characters? How does this fit in with this particular time that they had? And it's probably one, don't try to think about it too much, because a hell of a lot happens in a very short space of time. So, but let me go on a little bit further, and we'll talk more about the cast. Oh my god, let me just take that down. Thank you. So, as I said, we had a lot of action sequences. That's pretty much what this film is. So it jumps from action sequence to action sequence with quite a rapid pace. Opening sequence involves a lot of shooting. It involves a jet. And that's pretty much it. Sets up the pace of the film. There are car chases with guns. There are fights with guns. There are, they're chasing across Budapest with guns. It's action sequence after action sequence, which barely kind of slows down. It doesn't really give the audience a time to kind of catch their breath and really think about what's going on. I think that's probably exactly what Kate Shortland wanted. She wanted a really fast-paced film, even though it drags. Since we were going to talk about the cast, let's talk a little bit about it. So Scarlett Johansson, she plays her role. She knows the character. She's having a little bit of a savior complex with the character. Throughout previous films, she's talked a lot about her ledger, about how she wants to erase all the bad deeds that she's done. It's like a tally in her mind, and this is brought up multiple times again in this film. She feels conflicted over what she was forced to do. She's bitter about how she was used, and all she wants to do is one, get revenge, and to save anybody else who is in the same situation and has gone through the same thing that she has. So the strongest character for me was probably David Harbour's Alexei. I really liked Weiss. It's great to see her again. I thought they had pretty good chemistry together. Again, a little bit kind of odd with the accents. Some do better accents than others, and it's a little bit distracting. But at least they tried, I guess. See, the Russian accent shouldn't really be too hard an accent to do, but some more than others got it right. Let's see. Hello, Eric. Good to see you, Eric K. Welcome. So, if you go fast enough, you don't get time to think about it the JJ way. Exactly. Yeah. It's a case of, throw explosions and fast-paced at the audience, and don't give them a chance to kind of take a step back, kind of focus on what's actually going on in the plot, and they can't pick apart the inconsistencies. Action sequences to distract the audience from thinking, where have I seen that before? There's probably people out there that absolutely adore action sequences, but I could have done with it being a little bit slower paced, a little bit more reasoning behind her motivation. For me, would have been much better. Eric K. Black Widow should have been out right after Iron Man 2. That would have been her at her full hotness before people knew she was dead. Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely a missed opportunity, I think. I think they could have absolutely done it back around Iron Man 2. I don't think that the audience wouldn't have been there for it. people really loved Scarlett Johansson in Iron Man 2, even though that was one of the weaker films that came out for that phase. It was her character that really stood out. And I think at the time people wanted to know more about her. Even people that weren't familiar with the comics wanted to know more about this character. And yeah, she did look great in Iron Man 2. I always thought she looked best with the long curls. Wait a minute, Natasha was a Soviet/Russian agent created by a communist system. Are you saying she's actually suggesting communism is bad? Oh, I wish they went that deep with it, Colin, but they don't. That would have been a really great commentary, but no, they skirt that issue. And Sultana Fahim Scarlett looks dead in the eyes now. I can't say she looked dead, but she certainly looked done with the character. I think she was very, very happy to have this finished. I think she's got plans. She's going to move on. She's going to be a director now. So this character is pretty much going to be draw a line under it because she's done. And hello, Fixer. Good to see you. Not going to be able to see Black Widow until at least Wednesday, due to working every day until Wednesday. That's okay. Like I said, I'm not going to be heavy on the spoilers. I'm just, picking up on different bits of the plot, what I liked, what I didn't like. Ultimately, guys, I would never say, don't go see this film, or I will always leave it up to you guys to decide whether or not you want to see it, because it's your money. And Vanessa, sometimes action is used in place of a story and it really doesn't work. Indeed, and I would say this is one of those cases. Probably one of the weaker parts, as I said, was the CGI. Now, I'm not sure whether that's because of budgetary constraints, whether because some of the funds have been moved around for the TV shows. But if you compare this film that's just come out to the TV show, I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it's very, very similar. It's very similar in style. It's very similar in tone. It's very similar in the way that it's shot as well, and the use of music. So definitely going forward, if you don't like the shows, think of them as like a precursor to the films that will be coming out. Just keep that in the back of your mind. Oops, Punkwaddle, since the movie was about a backstory to an established character, we might not have needed the backstory to the backstory. I would definitely say we didn't need the backstory to the backstory where she was a kid. I think that bit could have been cut, definitely. It's nice that they kind of do fill in a few bits, but again, I'm not sure if I'm among, a minority here, but I was happy actually not knowing what went on in Budapest. I was fine by that, because your mind can fill in the blanks. You can decide, what actually went on. Sometimes it's better not to have it laid out before you. Campus says, kind of along the same lines of the femme fatale spy scene, have you seen Peppermint? I haven't, but I do remember that film, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And Pete, good to see you. Black Widow death scene in Endgame, when she fell, she tells Hawkeye, it's okay, broke my heart. I still can't take anybody in. I can still take anybody in a fight, though. Ahem. I was watching Sternlink's stream the other day, and the Marvel shows are just the worst. I had high hopes for them. I really, really enjoyed the first couple of episodes of WandaVision, and after that, I kind of lost interest, I've got to admit. Well, if the viewing figures of the said shows are an indicator, don't expect the films to be overly successful. I think we're going to have, given that this is the, springboard for the newest phase, I think this is going to do quite well money-wise. I think the box office takings are going to be pretty good. reviews that I've seen coming in at the moment are generally positive. I will give my out of 10 at the end of the show. But the way that I look at it, if I think of a film, am I going to rewatch it? What's the rewatchability? And for me, I have no interest in re-seeing this. It's definitely, for me, one of the weaker Marvel films. I would probably put it there with Iron Man 2, that kind of style. You don't really need to see it to know what's gone on. And Mark says, WandaVision broke my heart. Me too. Is it because of Mojo, Mark? Is that what it is? No excerpt, but I think Phase 4 is going to be a bit of a disaster. Quite possibly. And people talking and developing the story is essential. We see it in Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, original trilogy. As action-packed as The Matrix is, even gives you more time to breathe. Indeed, yes. Absolutely, well said. So let me just get back to a little bit more of the cast. There we go. So, yeah, there is David Harper's character was a little bit odd. So he plays, in his mind, the Russian super soldier. He's a character, and he in his mind he's the equivalent to Captain America. And he's very much he thinks he's amazing, but he's not obnoxious about it. I thought he was quite endearing and quite funny. So he was probably actually my favorite character throughout, and it was nice to see. He was actually quite a sympathetic character, which I wasn't expecting. There is one character that I think is going to really, really annoy people. I won't spoil it, but when you see it and when you get the final reveal, I think that's going to be a massive eye roll for a lot of people. I kind of saw it coming. I thought that was going to be the case. It's not really something that you're not going to pick up quite quickly, especially given the way the plot lays out. You know well before time who the big reveal is going to be, so it really doesn't come as a character. Lothrop, there's only one character who's going to annoy us. That depends on how easily annoyed you are. I didn't find a lot of characters annoying. I just found them bland. Now, there's a really big supporting cast, but all of these characters are background characters. Primarily, it is just the two women. It's Scarlett Johansson and oh god, I can never remember her name. Pugh. And hello, Fat Steven. It says how much the serum was used in this travesty film. Yeah, that was a little bit of a cop-out, I've got to admit. It's this kind of MacGuffin that they're carting around with them. So I wasn't overly impressed with it, with what it can do, or what it was used for, but one second, guys, let me just get a drink. And hello, Keely. Good morning. Good to see you. There comes a point when I'm interested in seeing stories Hollywood wants to tell based on their own culture as a curiosity, not as an excited consumer. Absolutely. A drink of serum. I felt like having a drink this morning after I watched it. I was like, wow, well, this film is going on for way too long. And for anybody curious, yes, there is a end credit scene they are continuing that vein. So if you are curious, you can always skip the credits to see it. Let's see, what else could I bring up without spoiling too much for you guys? As with most of the MCU films, it's the third act where things really kind of kick into it, and that's where the pace really takes off. From that point on, it's really one set piece after another. There's a really big explosion that's used. There's an avalanche in one part of the film, which was really, really odd. It's all huge kind of shock, and then move on to the next thing really, really quickly. Chris Neville, Black Widow should have died several times in the action sequences, I can say. Well, given that she's in plane crashes, car crashes, is constantly being beaten, gets thrown out of a window, yes, she should be much more damaged than she really is. Now, she is a spy and, very good at combat, but she doesn't have any superhuman strength. So that one I would agree with. Yeah, she definitely takes a beating. Watching this crazy action sequence, be amused. If you can sit back and turn your brain off, most definitely. I think that's probably the best way to look at it. But it is kind of worth considering, especially with what Johansson was talking about. She was saying, especially in the lead up to this films, instead of promoting the film and saying how great the film is, how excited she is to be a part of it, how wonderful it is to go back to this character that people love, she's talked about is women being underrepresented. And this is kind of rich coming from somebody Forbes ranked as among the world's highest paying actresses. She earns on average 17 million per year. So I think her box office takings, let's see if I can find it. So her films have grossed over 5.2 billion in North America and 14.3 worldwide, which makes Scarlett Johansson the third highest grossing box office star of all time, domestically and worldwide. So please tell me again, how is she not being represented? How is she being oppressed exactly? I could use the 17 million payday. Me too. I could think of a few things to spend that on. Definitely. Being a victim in Hollywood always pays. I think so, but I think this time it's going to backfire on her. I think a lot of people have kind of sat up and taken notice to what's being said. They are pushing this narrative, and I think people are kind of waking up to it. A lot of people have scoffed and kind of pointed out, as I've just said, how highly paid she actually is. What a great draw she is for the box office. And she was kind of bitter about being seen as a sex symbol in previous films. Well, that's not the case either. She is ranked consistently as one of the most beautiful women on the planet. I think Maxim has had her in their top 100. She's been named sexiest woman alive twice by Esquire. I think Playboy also and FHM have named her also. So she's someone who has definitely used her looks to her advantage. And for her to come back now when perhaps she is more of a fading star and she's kind of realised that, to say that she was just being used because she is sexy, I think is very disingenuous. SRB, I wonder how much of a pay cut she took so that the other actresses could be paid more. I think she didn't. This will be the answer to that. I'm pretty sure that was one of the other things that was brought up. That there's a big discrepancy on who was paid how much. The icon calling the widow black. It's a sad way to go about it, I've got to admit. She could have gone out on such a high with this character. Pete says, hasn't she made a career in being a lady of desire? I'm pretty sure every time she looks at all the cool things she has, it makes her rage. Absolutely, yes. I'm sure if she really wants to put her money where her mouth is, she could give it all up, but she's not going to. And hello, JM Cruz, good to see you. Jim the Viking, good afternoon. And hello, Rookie, good to see you all. Welcome, guys, good to see you. Arwen says she made all that coin playing just a sex symbol and now is crying about it. Exactly. Yeah, it was fine when she could use her looks to her advantage, but now that she's a little bit older, now that she's perhaps not the same leading lady that she once was, now she's crying sexism. And hello, Rod Thunderhard, good to see you as well. Welcome. Good to see you. Deadman says, I may have missed it if addressed earlier, but is there anything in the end credits to stick around for? There is, yeah. They do continue the trend of doing a end credits scene. So if you guys are looking for one, there is one, absolutely. I didn't think much of it. I think they were hoping for this really big emotional impact, but if you know what's gone on in the previous films, I think it falls kind of flat. That's how I will say it. They're also setting up for the future films, as with the new Black Widow. Is it Mojo? Mark, I'm going to go ahead and break your heart right now and say no, it's not Mojo. And JM Cruz, I just saw that message. Was about to say she's a bit old and a great send-off to the Black Widow. Wait, her proper sending off is falling off a cliff. Spoilers, says Chris. I'm sorry, Mark. Just keep pushing that hashtag Mojo Matters, and eventually, fingers crossed, they will bring him into the MCU. And GoGo13, hello, sweetheart. Sorry I'm late, I've been busy. How bad was the movie? Well, actually, you're just in time, because what I will do is I will give you guys my rating. So for me, high points. I thought the cast had pretty good chemistry together. ScarJo is strong as ever as her character, but her complaints of being a chess piece, if that's how she feels, that's how she feels, but she can't hold a film by herself. She needed the ensemble cast to help this film forward. Luckily, she did have a strong enough cast with her, so it didn't fall completely flat. But as a leading lady, she just didn't sell it for me. Some of the action sequences were pretty cool. The choreography is as strong as ever. I think they did pretty well with that. Music was fine. Isn't really anything to kind of write home about, but it works. When you need the big dramatic burst, that's what you got. When it was more serious, that's the tone was right. So at least they got it right with that. Costume design, fine. Nothing really crazy. Nothing that we haven't seen her wear before. Nothing that you haven't seen her wear on the posters. She's either in a black suit or a white suit. That's pretty much it. Didn't particularly think much of the the bad guys in the film. Ray Winston's character I thought was especially weak. Didn't believe him for one moment that he was supposed to be, as big a threat as he is. And the other character, which I won't touch on for, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, really didn't have as much of an impact as they could have done. They could have been used so much better throughout the film. And especially once you get the reveal, it kind of falls very, very flat. So for me, I would give it, I'd give it a 5 out of 10. If you want to watch it for, because you're a huge fan of the MCU, that's probably the only reason I would say to go see it. Now, there are films that I skipped entirely. I haven't seen Ant-Man and Wasp. I haven't seen Captain Marvel. This film I saw just out of curiosity because it is the springboard for Phase 4. Will I ever watch it again? No. Once was fine. I think it was overly long, and whereas I think they were really trying to kind of sell this character, it's too little too late for the franchise. We could have easily not have had this film and it wouldn't really factored anything. And Rod Thunderheart said that's not a high endorsement, 5 out of 10. Wimbledon it is, indeed, Max. Guys, if you can watch it, I would say either stream it at home. I wouldn't say it's worth the cost of a theatre ticket. I think there are probably much better films coming out that you would enjoy seeing. And John Wong says, meh, I lost the habit of watching movies thanks to lockdowns. Yeah, I am really excited to get back to the cinema. But I'm kind of glad I didn't see this one. And Chris says, Purple, you mispronounced that film. It's Wasp and the Ant-Man. My mistake, Chris, of course. Yeah, but women have to come first. Absolutely. And Colin asks if men are always so useless. Why are there so many villains? Men, indeed. Well, these ones, at least in this film, one isn't a threat, and the other male characters that they have are either background characters or they're the comic relief. Again. And Nearsighted Cyclops says it's an hour drive for me to go to a theatre. Gonna need more than a 5 out of 10. Yeah, I was kind of flipping back and forth between a 5 and a 6, and for me, one, her comments negatively impacted my enjoyment of the film because I knew what she'd said about it and how disingenuous she's being about it, because she wants to go into directing. If she really wanted to hype this film up, she could have done. She could have talked about how proud she was to have played this role, how much it meant to her, what a great opportunity it was. But she didn't. She took the opportunity to talk about how oppressed and how difficult it is and how women aren't represented. Well, they're represented the hell out of in this film. So I hope she got what she wanted, as well as a female director, of course. And Pete says women coming first, isn't that sexist? I will leave that for you to decide. Alwyn says she became an activist. Indeed, yeah. Or, a slacktivist. She's not really actively doing anything. And Gogo says she disrespected herself and the opportunity she was given. Indeed. And I think it's worth remembering that she wasn't actually the first choice to play Black Widow. Emily Blunt was, and it was only because Fox, had her on a multi-film contract that she got skipped over, and Scarlett Johansson was offered the role. So she wasn't even the first pick to be Black Widow. So that's a shame. And Fixer says, to be honest, I'm not actually looking forward to watching it. I would say watch it, but don't go in with any, this is going to be the greatest film ever. I would say it's definitely a step down from Endgame, and Endgame was a step down from Infinity War. So that's the way I look at it. Still curious about the upcoming films, but I think the next one that's coming out is Shang-Chi, if I remember correctly, and The Eternals, and neither of those films I'm particularly interested in. So shouldn't you build up a film to try and make it successful instead of tearing it down, especially if you want to take a director's chair? You would think that. That's the way I would have done it, absolutely. I wouldn't have focused on the negatives. I would have, praised it. I would have said how great an opportunity it was to play this character, how wonderful it was, the love that you've had from the fans over the years, how people have supported this franchise. But that's just me. That's how I would have done it. And Mark says, I'll watch it when it pops up for free. Yeah, I'll go sailing. It's out there if you know where to look, definitely. Oh my gosh. So guys, I hope that wasn't too much or too bad not so much a review, because I can't really kind of go into details for lack of spoilers, but I can definitely give you my perspective on what I thought of the film. So I would leave it up to you guys to decide if you are curious to see it. And if you do, I'd love to know what you thought of it. Not looking forward to watching any of the Phase 4 movies, really. No, I'm with you there, Fixer. Absolutely. Thank you guys. Oops, it skipped. There we go. Enjoyed the stream today. Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone in the chat. Stay safe. Absolutely, well said. Stay safe, guys. A huge thank you to everybody who joined me today. You guys are awesome as always. Big thank you to everybody who sent in super chats. I really appreciate you. You guys are the best. I hope you have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful weekend. If you guys saw Loki's show this morning, as he said, he's got a big guest joining tomorrow for a special show. So very much looking forward to hearing what Bowles Trek has to say. Big fan of him, so that should be a fantastic show. I'm not sure if I've got a show to do Sunday. I'm just waiting to hear back off a guest. If not, I will be definitely back on Monday morning. So let me just grab this and say a massive thank you to Rod Thunderheart. Thank you, sweetheart. It sends us a $5 Canadian. Just a few bucks to help keep your lights on. Thank you so much. I can wait until it's free, or not at all. Thank you so much, Rod. I really appreciate that. You guys are the best. And please, guys, both Chris and Mark have been putting a link in the chat. If you guys could help out in any way, even by sharing it out, it would be very much appreciated. So thank you guys for that. So I will say goodbye and wish you all a fantastic weekend and hope to see you soon. Big thank you guys, and mwah, see you later.